Hey guys, National Master James Canty III here with Chess.com, and today we have member game analysis. Now before we get started, make sure, look right under the video right now, click on that link, send your games so that hopefully yours can be chosen for some member game analysis. So again, I worked hard on this study today for you guys, and you're going to learn some stuff. So let's get right into it. Let's see what we're going to learn. Number one is going to be patience when attacking. You can't just attack. You got to have some type of patience first and kind of know when that's going to happen or when you should actually start attacking. So that's number one. Number two is breakthroughs. If you have some type of attack and you don't know how to break through yet, you got to look at all your options. How do I break through is going to be the question for that. And number three is, what material do I need to keep? Let's say it doesn't work out. Let's say I messed it up. Or let's say I don't know what material to keep. We're going to talk about that today. So now let's look into this. Today's member is squashaddict. So let's look right into that. Squashaddict, we chose your game with Eric Hansen. So shout out to you, Eric Hansen, and squashaddict. Let's do this. Now, squashaddict, you played the white pieces here. Let's see what happened in this game. We played d4, and Eric plays d5. c4, c6. We now have a Queen's Gambit decline, or almost like a Slav. Knight to c3, knight f6, bishop to g5. Okay, all theory so far. e6 and e3. Knight b to d7. Very easy chess here. All these guys are doing right now is just developing, getting the pieces out. Development, again, it's very common stuff. You got to make sure you develop, castle, create a plan. Easy stuff. Pawn takes on d5. He just want a little bit of clarification here. If we don't take this pawn, then we don't really know what the plan is going to be for black yet. So a lot of times taking this is just like if he takes with the c pawn, you have a different plan as if he takes with the e pawn. So you want to get a little bit of clarity there. So that's definitely a good transition of pieces there, just capturing. And then pawn takes, he takes with the e pawn. So now we have a clear plan. For white, we just want to probably put the bishop on d3 and start attacking this side. So let's see what happens. Knight to f3 was played, bishop e7, and now bishop to d3. Bishops on d3 are usually the best squares for these pieces. Why? Because it immediately hits the h7 square, which is a very good soft point, and it could be very, very bad for black if he doesn't know what he's doing. Castle, and then we have queen to c2. Very nice move, hitting the h7 pawn. In some cases, maybe be able to win this h7 pawn. g6. So this move, I don't think was actually the best move by Mr. Hansen here. For some reason, I think that white is able to get an attack off very quickly. And squashaddict, you realize that as well. So kudos to you. Now we have to have patience when attacking. So h4. h4 is very nice. Harry the h-pawn is what they call him. So it's very nice to push Harry the h-pawn here. And once we push this down, the rook is now going to be able to help out with the attack, with the queen and the bishop are all eyeing this area over here. It usually takes 3 pieces for a successful attack, but when you have more, it could be even more devastating and also quicker or faster. So rook to e8 was played. I'm assuming he's probably going to try to go around this way, or maybe put the knight on f8 and go to e6. A lot of maneuvering here for black. Bishop takes f6, and that leads us to our first point, patience while attacking. If you get rid of this piece, they also have a thing called to take is a mistake. If you're watching this today, you got some notes next to you, you got a notepad, you got it on your phone, whatever, you want to remember this. This is a huge one. To take is a mistake. Not all the time. There's always exceptions in chess. But to take is a mistake. What does that mean? Well, let's see if we take this right now. Bishop takes f6, knight takes. What just happened? Well, I got my knight to a better square. I also opened up this bishop line. Thank you so much. My bishop can come out, is what black is saying. Now, if we go back a move, we are unprovoked to take this knight. There is no reason to just take it right now. And it's just no reason to actually do it. And it actually takes one of our attackers away, because this is actually helping us in a way where we could really just play h5 or just castle queenside. Get out of the way and start attacking this man as much as you can. But taking it, it actually helps out black. So bishop takes g5 is just not a good move. So you have to have patience when you are attacking. You got to have that patience. So after knight takes f6, we have castle queenside, which we should have just castled first. And now we have bishop to g4. So bishop g4, now he's trying to stop your attack. h5 wasn't as strong. It's not as strong now as it was when we were able to play it later or earlier. Rook to g1, we're just stepping out of the pin. Totally understandable, because you kind of want to move this knight. And bishop to d6, he's just making his improving the position, honestly, is what it is. Bishop d6 just improves the position. Knight to g5. We are now starting to attack. Here we go. And then queen to e7. King to b1. It's very good to always get your king to b1 or b8 if you're castled on the queen side. Bishop to d7 because f3 was coming, and that was coming with tempo. So he moved his bishop back to say civilization here. And now we get into our second point, which is breakthroughs. A breakthrough. What is a breakthrough? Well, it's just as easy as it sounds. How do I break through and get to the king and checkmate the king here? In this case, take a second and look at this position. How would white break through right now? If you thought h5 was the move, you are correct. h5, you at least have to try it because it's a breakthrough and it's very nice. Anything else is just not winning right now. It won't work. You can't really move the f pawn, which that actually is the game move, because this pawn will hang. And the g pawn, that's going to hang. Not really much to do, but if you look at how many pieces are attacking this king right now, it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 5 pieces. Whoa. And it only takes 3. So this could be successful. So we have to try it. We got to break through. So let's see what happens. After h5, pawn takes. We just don't want to take with the pawn, obviously. What about knight takes h5? Now there's a discovery on my knight here, and he has closed this up. Well, what do? Well, if you thought knight takes h7 is the move, you are correct. Knight takes h7. King takes, and now rook takes h5, taking advantage of the pin here. King to g7, and black is doing fine, but it feels pretty scary for the black position here. Rook here, maybe rook to h8, and white just has a minuscule, very small advantage. Maybe push e4 here and just break some stuff up and try to win this game nice and slow from there. And that's just with a good and correct play, because we're playing Mr. Eric Hansen, the Grandmaster Chess Bra himself. Absolutely, he's going to play some great chess here, but it's good to know that you do, and you did have this here in this position, Squash Addict. So going back to this, the breakthrough was very, very nice. But after bishop d7, we play this fatal error of f4, and Eric Hansen, being a monster as he is, just comes down and crashes right on a position, takes a pawn, and now there are other pawns being here. But h5, now we break through, but we're a move a little bit too late. Just that much too late. Just that much too late. After queen takes f4, the knight's hanging. But then knight takes f7. Nice sacrifice. Looks like it works, but it's just not enough. King takes f7, pawn takes, king to g7. And then we have this next move, which leads us to our next point. Rook takes h7. Is not a good move. It goes into like, what material should you keep? And that goes into like rook takes h7. You don't have a follow-up move. If there was a follow-up like, hey, rook takes h7, and then if he takes, then I take with the other rook, or I can check him right now, as opposed to just pawn takes, that is going to lose because you don't have anything concrete anymore, and there's nothing actually immediate. And a lot of times when you have these kind of attacks, it has to be immediate, especially when you're sacrificing material. And if it's not immediate, especially grandmasters or masters or strong players are going to be able to consolidate and be able to get a good position very fast, even in these kind of weird, or like you would think white's doing well kind of positions. So let's go back here. Instead of rook takes, it would be pawn takes. Yeah, you are down a piece, and you still may lose this game because of who you are playing. But there is a very big chance that you still could have some very good counterplay here, and you could make a mistake. You never know. We are not computers. So with that being said, pawn takes, it just keeps the material. What material should I keep? Well, if I am down some material, I want to keep as much as I can, so I can maybe checkmate later or cause him some huge problems, especially with the rooks here now. Rook f1 is a very nice move. It hits the queen, the knight's here, which is only defended by the king. Maybe we can swing the queen over and do some other stuff and just, you know, try to annoy him as much as possible. Not just give him a rook back, because he's going to take this and not even think about the next move, because we're just taking more material. Knight takes h7. That's exactly what happened here. G takes h7, and then we have rook to e7. Rook e7, very interesting move. I'm assuming he's going to double up here, but really it's just about, you know, simplifying. You trade when you're up and not when you're down. When black is up a piece here, so with that being said, it's just time for him to trade as much as he can. So rook to h1. Rook to h1, going for the queen here. Trying to make it as tough as we can here. I understand. So king to h8, he blockades the pawn. The best piece to blockade any pawn in the endgame would be a king. Hopefully, if you have a knight, that'd be great. But if you don't, the king is just as good. Rook to f1. Now imagine if we had 2 rooks. This rook on f1 is very nice. But if we had 2 rooks, it'd be even better. Because this rook's holding this one, and this rook is holding the queen. And actually, you would still have a lot of hope here in this position if you had white. If you had that extra rook. So he plays queen to h4. And there's no rook to help here. And it's almost, the position is almost helpless. Queen to h4, we play queen d2. And he's doubling up. And now he's going for the check here to trade everything off, and that's it. Knight e2, very nice, blocking that. Bishop g4, I'm assuming that's exactly what happened. Knight to f4. Knight to f4, bishop takes, rook takes, and queen e1 check. Very, very simple. Trade when you're up, not when you're down. After this queen e1 check, it is it's devastating because of course everything's going to come off the board now. Queen takes, rook takes, king here, and bishop to h5. Okay, bishop h5, rook h4, and then we have bishop f7. He just backs it up. Rook here, still trying to fight as much as we can, but there's not much fight left here. Rook g7, that's just a random move, and we thought it would work, of course, and it just didn't work. King takes g7. Well, you played a good game against a very strong opponent, very well-known opponent. Eric Hansen. So Squash Addict, I think you played pretty good there, but going back, and again, for everyone that's watching today, you know, it goes to those 3 points. Number one is the patience, okay? You got to have the patience when you're attacking. When we had the bishop on g5 and we just voluntarily took the knight on f6, we really didn't have to do that. You could also just wait, and it's like, if I'm provoked, then I'll take it. But if I'm not provoked, I'm going to keep attacking, keep as many pieces as I can on the board so my attack is stronger. So you want to ask yourself, is my attack ready yet? So when that patience is there, is my attack ready yet? Nope, it's not. Okay, let's just do something else. Let's cancel. Let's prepare it more, as opposed to taking and then now attacking. It's just not going to work in that manner. Number two is the breakthroughs. You got to make sure that you know what breakthroughs are on the board, especially when we were able to break through with the h5 move early on in this game. h5 would have been much better if we played it early on as opposed to after, when his pieces were able to coordinate a little bit better. And you have to ask yourself, how can I break through? So when you ask yourself that, how can I break through? You're going to start thinking of things, and you're going to start finding moves that may be able to help you break through. And the last point is what material to keep. What is the most material I can keep to stay in the game and or have chances? So if you do have some material loss, or you sacked a piece or something, what's the most material you can keep so it can be more uncomfortable for your opponent, or make them the most uncomfortable? And in this position, of course, we wanted to make sure that we kept the rook as opposed to taking on h7 like we did. Rook takes h7 just wasn't good. The knight takes, and now we're left with 1 rook instead of 2, which could have been a very big swing in this game. Maybe you could have got a draw. Maybe you could have held him to something else and played a little bit tougher, keeping those on there. So those are the key points. Hope you guys learned something nice today. Shout out to you, Squash Addict, and you, Eric Hansen. Thank you so much, guys, for watching today. Now, before we get out of here, make sure click on that video, or click on the link under the video, guys, so that you can actually submit your games, and hopefully yours will be chosen for some member game analysis. I'm National Master James Canty III, and I'll see you on the next one.